August 25, 1944. Cherbourg Harbor, Normandy, France. The wrench slipped from Sergeant William Henderson's grease-stained fingers as he stared at the immense convoy taking shape before him. The British had dismissed these trucks as failures, flawed, underpowered, and worthless for modern combat. Yet here they were, 6,000 of them preparing to attempt the impossible. The lifeline for General Patton's racing Third Army across 400 miles of shattered French countryside. The letters GMC on the hood stood for General Motors Corporation. But for the drivers climbing into those cabs, a staggering 75% of whom were African American, exhausted before the journey had even begun, those letters meant something else entirely: survival. They represented the essential push toward victory, the one logistical thread that would keep the Allied armies barreling toward Germany. Unbeknownst to them that August morning, this truck, deemed inadequate by British experts just 4 years earlier, would prove more valuable than tanks, more crucial than fighters. The humble 212-ton GMC CCKW, affectionately called the Jimmy or the Deuce and a Half, was about to become the unsung backbone of the most desperate supply operation the world had ever seen. From drawing board to battlefield, the story of the CCKW didn't start with a bang, but in the quiet design rooms of General Motors in 1939. The U.S. Army Ordnance Corps needed a new medium tactical truck, a 212-ton, 6-wheel drive, 6.6 vehicle, capable of handling any terrain. GM engineers, working out of Pontiac, Michigan, modified existing commercial designs, adding a second rear axle and all-wheel drive. The result, the ACKWX 353, was only equipped with a modest 77-horsepower inline 6-cylinder engine. British rejection and American adaptation. When France fell in 1940, over 2,000 of these early trucks were captured by the German Wehrmacht. The remaining units were diverted to Great Britain under emergency contracts. The British tested the trucks and their reports were damning. They were too long, hard to maneuver on European roads, and the $77 HP engine was unsuitable for modern mechanized warfare. Rather than use them in combat, the British diverted approximately 1,000 units to the Soviet Union under Lend-Lease. Stung by the critique, GM engineers went back to work. They realized the goal wasn't to build the perfect truck, but to build adequate trucks in numbers that would overwhelm the enemy through sheer industrial capacity. The redesigned 1941 version, the CCKW, featured vital improvements, notably the new GMC $270 cubic inch engine, which boosted power to 104 horsepower, a $27 HP increase that dramatically improved performance, especially with heavy loads. Engineers also introduced 2 wheelbase options for greater mission flexibility. Crucially, as the war ramped up, they switched to an open cab with a canvas top to save approximately 150 pounds of steel per vehicle, steel needed for ships and tanks. The result was a vehicle that prioritized simplicity, reliability, and mass production. It wasn't sophisticated, but it could be fixed in a field by a mechanic with basic tools. Industrial might. The production numbers alone are staggering and represent the full force of American industrial mobilization. Total CCKW production, 1941-1945, approximately 562,750 trucks across all variants. Comparison: this single American model nearly equaled the combined total truck production of all Axis powers. For context, Germany produced approximately 100,000 total trucks of all types during the same period. The Red Ball Express, the Crisis, and the Lifeline. The CCKW faced its ultimate test following the Normandy breakout, Operation Cobra, in July 1944. General Patton's Third Army was racing across France, advancing so fast that its supply lines could not keep up. By late August, spearheads were over 350 miles from their supply bases, running desperately low on fuel. Patton's fuel requirements alone exceeded 400,000 gallons daily, and ammunition. The Allied plan was undone by its own success, as Allied bombing had previously destroyed the French railroad network to prevent German reinforcement. The audacious solution on August 21, 1944, American logistics officers conceived the desperate, audacious solution, the Red Ball Express. Named after railroad priority freight, the system was a dedicated, one-way express convoy route from Normandy to the front, banning all civilian traffic and governed by strict military police control to ensure convoys never stopped. Inauguration. The Red Ball Express began operations on August 25, 1944. Scale. It initially assembled 6,000 trucks, later peaking near that number on the road simultaneously, predominantly the CCKW routes. Two parallel one-way routes stretched nearly 400 miles from Normandy ports to forward supply points. The drivers. Answering the call, the success of the Red Ball Express hinged on its drivers, and here, American racial segregation played a unique role. Military policy assigned African American soldiers predominantly to service and support units, including transportation. The workforce. Approximately 17,000 African American soldiers became Red Ball Express drivers, joined by about 3,000 white soldiers. The mission. These men, many of whom had faced intense discrimination in the Jim Crow South and elsewhere, understood that keeping the combat troops supplied was essential to both victory abroad and the advancement of civil rights at home. They drove for up to 60 hours straight in two-man teams, often pushing the CCKW past its $56 mph design limit in treacherous conditions. Overcoming the odds, the journey was a constant ordeal. Drivers faced German ambushes, blackout conditions, cratered roads, and the constant threat of landmines and fatigue. Yet the simple, robust CCKW proved its worth. Its straightforward design allowed mechanics to perform field-expedient repairs using basic tools, cannibalizing parts to keep the maximum number of trucks rolling. Peak performance. On August 29, 1944, the Red Ball Express delivered 12,342 tons of supplies, a figure that exceeded every pre-war logistics estimate. Total haul. Over 82 days of operation, the drivers hauled 12,193 tons of supplies, making Patton's rapid, aggressive advance possible. Without the Red Ball Express, the Allied push would have stalled, potentially prolonging the war for months or years. General Eisenhower himself publicly praised the drivers, stating, "To you drivers and mechanics and your officers who keep the Red Ball vehicles constantly moving, I wish to express my deep appreciation. You are doing an excellent job." The deuce and a half, once dismissed, had become a legend, proving that sometimes the simplest, most mass-produced tool can be the most critical weapon in modern warfare.